Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Guys. We've got a great show lined up for you tonight. We're looking forward to it. Some great authors. First up, we have Tricia. I need to thank the Guyz Radio at guyzradio.com, Ross, for allowing us on his channel, and always the Parapost Network, and our FM guests at WRFN in Nashville, Tennessee. Let's see who I got hiding backstage here. The wonderful Miss.
Hold on. I gotta do my. I'm making that a regular thing now.
You're like a professional wrestler. You got your own roll in, so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our first guest, Miss Tricia Copeland. She is an author out of Colorado, and she writes some really cool stuff. So let's bring her out and let her talk, because you'll do a much better job of explaining yourself than I will. So how are you, Tricia?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, absolutely. We're glad you're here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yes, so I'm an author. I've been writing, this is the 9th year since I published my first book. I have several series. I started with a series that was more of a coming of age series based on my experience with anorexia. And that's how I kind of broke into the author publishing world. And from there, I just got obsessed with writing. I loved all parts of it. Talking to the readers, talking to other authors. I'm indie published, so that community is really supportive and fun. And yeah, from there, I started writing fantasy because that's my love. Vampires, witches, now I write fae, so that's very exciting. My most recent series is The Realm Chronicles, and I have a new release in that series tomorrow, the 4th book, To Be a Fae Rogue. So that's really exciting. And I'm working on the 5th book in that series, which will be the finale. So I always get excited about those finales. They're really hard to write. And then I get sad about when they end. But I'm really excited for all my readers to find out how it's going to end next summer.
Wow. How long does it take you to do a series like that?
So I've been writing this one since 2021, I think. Yes. Yeah. So 4 or 5 years. I write I used to write 3 books a week before, not a week. Yes, 3 books a week. That's how much I write now.
Excellent. Teach me.
I used to, yeah,
Teach
no.
me.
Well, I met an author the other day who is doing this Authors Against AI, I think is her program, or Authors versus AI. Have you heard of her? Allie McBide, I think, or Allison McBide. Anyway, she's writing a book, a full novel a week and using no AI. I'm like, okay, we're not worthy. But so yeah, before the pandemic, I was writing about 3 books a year. So that was pretty fast for me. And I've slowed it down to 1 to 2.
It's still a lot though.
I'm obsessed. Like I said, I'm just obsessed with it. I get obsessed with my characters and I don't want to let them go.
So, well,
I don't blame you.
The next question is, do you know when you start writing at the beginning where you're going to be at the very end, or do you kind of, as you go along, it's an ongoing process?
Yeah, so I always know where I'm beginning and where I want to end. It's the middle that I usually have no clue what's going to happen in. But that's the fun and the creative side for me, because if I knew exactly what was going to happen, I probably wouldn't even sit down and write it.
That's the fun, finding out.
Right. I can't regurgitate things. So, but I'm pretty good on the fly. In one of my books, I had no clue how I was going to get this person had a curse on them, and I had no clue what exactly the curse was and how they were going to get it off. And somehow my brain came up with these blue tendrils that were connected to a tattoo on his wrist and connected all the way through his heart. They were like magic tendrils, and the witch that got them out had to pull them out with this metal, it's almost like a stamp or a brand, and wind them around the brand an hour, one wind an hour, and it took hours for this whole process, and it was really painful. So I have no idea where my brain came up with that, but it was a unique way to get him out of the curse.
Sounds like torture.
Yeah.
It was torture, but he did it for, he did it to save his love. So.
Oh. Well, now the author we had on the other day, he was talking about he is so attached to his characters that they're almost a part of him, and he knows their little quirks and where they're going to go, and he lets them get into trouble. And he was talking about it like it was his own little world on his desk, and it was really neat to hear him, express how
that's how you make it. You make your own little world.
Yeah, it was really neat to hear how he did it. So, did you do a lot of research on vampires and cryptic stuff, or did you just
I have done some like post starting one world. Well, I shouldn't say that. I love vampires, and I knew like tons about vampires before I started writing. My first fantasy series was the Kingdom Journals, and I really intended it to be sort of a fresh new take on vampires, but somehow it morphed into a witch series. So my main character was a hybrid vampire witch character, but she was forbidden by both the witches and the vampires. Like, you weren't ever supposed to create this type of being because they would be too powerful. But somehow, the witches took over, and she ended up being part of a trinity of witches who had to break a curse on the witch line. So really that series morphed into this quest. Three of the witches had to find each other, and then they had to figure out how to break this curse. But the vampire book that I finally got was her mother was a vampire. So I wrote her mother's backstory in the prequel. So to answer your question, to loop back, so I love vampires, read lots of vampire literature. What I didn't do when I started my Fae series is read much about the Fae. Like, I read the Fae in Lord of the Rings, but I didn't know, and maybe I didn't remember, like, all their quirks and tendencies. So my Fae don't have any of those. They can lie. They don't usually lie, but they can. They have wings and they can fly. They live in a world, Middle Earth, that's below our Earth. So it's contemporary urban fantasy, but they don't live in our world. So they can come into our world through these fairy rings that are powered by crystals. And they're not really supposed to, but there are rules around how long they can stay, and they can't eat in Upper Earth, or they'll be doomed to stay here forever. And some creatures from Upper Earth can't go into Middle Earth where they live, or they get stuck. But fairies can go back and forth.
Are they equally as mischievous?
No, they're not. Their purpose by the creator is to protect the humans from the demons of lower Earth. So really, they were created to protect the humans on Upper Earth human realm. So they take that very seriously, some more than others, and they consider themselves like a nice people, but we find out in the series some of them aren't so nice when you pull new things on them. So my main character is a Fae queen who's the first ever female monarch in her realm, and all the patriarch monarchs aren't too happy about her being there.
Sounds accurate.
Yeah, maybe.
And which is that the book series that you're finishing up now?
Yes, that's the Realm Chronicles series. It starts with To Be a Fae Queen. So in the beginning, she's just a princess, and her father hands her the monarchy. Then the second book is To Be a Fae Guardian, and then the third is To Be a Fae Legend, and the one coming out tomorrow is To Be a Fae Rogue.
Awesome. You must have quite a following.
I hope so. I like getting notes and emails and texts and messages from my readers, and there's a good number that are excited about the next book, and especially excited about the finale. So that makes me excited. Cool.
Well, it sounds interesting, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know much about the Fae, so I would probably be like, oh, that's neat.
Well, the good thing about fantasy is you can kind of make it up as you go along, and as long as you don't stray really, really too far, people don't get too mad at you.
That's going to be my next question: is do you have people critical of you because of certain things?
I haven't gotten that yet, so hopefully, I think most people that read fantasy are open to new things. Like I said, unless you make some major rule. I don't know. Shay may say, no, you broke a major rule.
Now just be like, okay, we have a new rule now.
Cheyenne's a bit of an author herself, so she's got more knowledge on the writing process than me. I'll sit at the keyboard and bang out reports and stuff, but that's about it.
I'll write, but I've never finished anything.
Well, but me on the other hand, I do love to read a lot of science fiction and fantasy stuff like that. So this stuff is like right up my alley, especially with the vampires that are talking about that. So we've actually tried to get somebody that was a vampire on our show, but people don't want to talk about it. Yeah, people don't like to talk about it.
Well, no, I was just doing research. Like I was trying to find more adjectives that would describe or how blood would taste without actually tasting my blood. So, but there was the whole BBC article on these people and pockets of people. They said there's these pockets of people in nearly every city that drink blood and get together and drink blood. They call themselves vampires. So yeah, it is a thing.
Yeah, it is a thing. And I've talked to some people back and forth through email, but none of them will come on and go live and talk about it. So
they might burn in the lights. So yeah.
That's true. Actually, one of the
we've heard that they're very picky who they talk to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't trust us, in other words. So one of the authors we had recently, he had a vampire in one of his tales, and the vampire wanted to come out to the light, and he covered himself in, was it suntan oil and glitter? Was that right?
It's like sunblock and glitter.
And he had a allergic reaction, and so
to the sunblock.
He was a paramedic, so he was adding in his, like, I'm a paramedic. He was adding in his twist on it, and he had to describe this a vampire with sunburn and anaphylaxis at the same time.
Did it go to the hospital? Or is it self-treating?
They had an EpiPen.
Okay, there you go.
He stabbed him.
Which one was it that had diabetes? Was it the werewolf?
I think so. Yeah, he had a werewolf that had diabetes. He added a real human element to all of his characters, and one of his characters ate somebody that had just had too much sugar, and he had a problem.
Had to do a couple laps around the pool, right? Around the lake, maybe.
Exactly.
Well, he was making the treatment for all of them very accurate too. So yeah. that was really cool.
Yeah, like I said, he was adding his little twist as a paramedic in there to some of the stories, which I thought was good and funny at the same time, because I mean, I guess any type of creature could get into some type of trouble, medical problem or something. So
my cat got diabetes, so
yeah. My uncle was a veterinarian. It's a thing. So yeah, but it was just kind of cool to hear how he added that in. And like we were talking about earlier, it was just his own little world, and he loved to write his characters that way. Do you have any ideas for what you're doing next, your project?
I don't. Usually I switch back and forth between writing my romance and my fantasy, because when I'm writing my fantasy, sometimes I have to kill people that really upsets me, and I get really, it's very intense.
You have to go grieve a bit.
Right. So then I have to write a romance and a happily ever after, so nobody dies. But this time I'm like full steam ahead with writing all my fantasy, or finishing this fantasy series. So after that, I'll definitely go back to my romance. I do have an idea in my perfect romance series. They're all friends and set in Lexington, Kentucky. So they're all friends from college. And then I tell the romance story of each of the different friends in each of the different books. So they're all standalones, but they are friends and know each other. So it kind of continues.
They're standalone, but they're interconnected.
They're interconnected, yes. So sort of like I guess some people will call them small town romances, but it's not that small of a town. But they're all friends, and so you kind of see sometimes progression of people's relationships, or either you see them before they were in those relationships.
I like that. I like that a lot. I had an idea for some similar, not as drawn out, smaller scale.
You're breaking up, Shay. Your signal in West Virginia is getting you. It's so that
the weather.
Oh, is it? That's right. It's storming up there. Sorry. I lost my train of thought. You're a small group of people you were talking about. Did those characters come from somebody you knew or instances you've had in real life, or was it all?
I guess some. It is, it's contemporary romance. So I guess in those type of stories, there are always like some situations that happen that may have happened to someone I knew, but I didn't really take their characters from anything. The first book I wrote a little bit different because I kind of had trouble just writing just a pure, fun, sweet romance. So her character starts at her sophomore year in college, and her high school sweetheart proposes to her. He comes and proposes to her and says he's going to he goes to a different college. He comes and proposes to her, and she says yes, she's in love. And that's like 2 pages, the first part of the story. But then you cut to a different reality where she decides, no, I don't think the high school sweetheart is for me. And she makes the choice not to say yes to him. And she falls in love with someone else in college. So she picks guy number 2, right? And they have their little love story. And then in the third part of the story, the second part, guy number 2 falls apart, and there's guy number 3 as she graduates from college. And then there's parts 4 and 5 as she moves through her life and makes different choices based on where she is in her life and her job. And you see like these 5 romances, and the name of the book is Perfect because each one of the romances could have been perfect based on what you choose. So it's sort of an alternate ending romance. And then from there, I grew on that first book. So the second book is, and her name is Chloe. So the second book is Chloe's ultimate love story. Like, who does she really ultimately pick? And my first idea was to do each one of the parts, like what each one of those romances would have looked like if they all played out. But then that got too hard. So then I just skipped to her friend Bree, and Bree's story is called As Close to Perfect. And that's written under the pen name Maria Jane. I kind of jumped pen names for my romance. And then the next one is, now I'm forgetting the name of my protagonist. Oh, Mira. Mira is the third friend in the series. And that book is called Perfect Office Pact. She has a little office pact with her boss because he crosses a bit of a line. So that was really fun to write. It was my first third person book that I wrote. So you get both perspectives from both of the characters. And if I remember his name, it'll be in a second. So the next book in that series will be it will be Dana. I don't know the name of the book yet because I haven't finished it. But I think that's next for me after I finish all the Fae.
You have a lot of projects going on. You must be busy.
My brain is very crowded, I will say. When I'm driving, I'm thinking of characters and scenarios and what they need to do next. And yes, that's kind of how I live my life, washing my dishes and thinking about my characters.
Well, I know how that is.
So when you come up with like something you want to add into the storyline, do you just grab a little piece of paper and pen and jot it down or go to the computer?
I do. I have these different notes on my phone where I can enter in different notes for different characters in different books. And so, yeah.
Yeah. If you get so many people in your, I guess we'll call it your world, you almost have to have a background page on each one of them, I would think.
I do. Yeah. Yeah, I have a whole character list with what they look like, where they're from, their background, who they're related to, what their personality is. And sometimes I have to go back to that because like a couple of weeks ago, I was kind of feeling down and I realized that I was like letting that bleed into my story. Like my character really shouldn't have been sad at that point, but she was, I think I was letting that bleed into that. So I have to back up and separate and remember where I am or remember where my characters are in the story, not where I am in my life.
But sometimes that can add a little bit of fun into it if you do let some of that bleed over.
Yeah, it can.
Well, I'm sure there's a part of you in each book, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's, for me, it's probably impossible, or maybe for some authors, it may be possible for that not to bleed over, but I'm sure, yeah. The character I'm writing right now, Titania, who's the main protagonist in the Faye story, she is, I think she's very different from me, but she is also similar in that she has a lot of like anxieties. And so as I've had her age, I've had her deal with those anxieties. But sometimes I kind of regress and I'm like, wait a minute. She's supposed to be 2 years older now. So we have to fix this a little bit.
See, I don't think I would have the patience for that, because I would just, like I said, bag out something and be like, okay, there it is. Do you, and that leads me to my next question. Do you have a group that you go to and present your books to, or do you solely do it yourself, or have an editor, or before it's published?
Right. Yeah. So I have my little group, which is usually either my sister-in-law or my mother-in-law, who will read things for me and say, okay, yes, you're going in the right direction, or wait, you're missing this. So that's before it hits my editor. But then when it hits my editor is not only doing grammar, she's doing story development. So like the last book I did, this is embarrassing, but I sent it to her and it was summer. So she took like a month, whereas usually she takes like 10 days to send it back to me. She was in vacations and she was like, well, I'm glad I had so long, because I have to tell you that the first 10 chapters are boring. And I was like, oh, that's bad, because there's only 20 chapters in this book, which means I really need to do something to the first half of this book. So, yeah, but it was good. Like, I want her to be that honest with me and say, you didn't have any action in the first 10 chapters. Somebody's going to put it down in chapter 4. So, yeah, I really had to go back, and I took an extra week to put in more fun action scenes and plots. So my editor edits, she does 2 rounds, and then I have a proofreader. So yeah, I have a pretty good team of people that I've worked with for a while.
Sounds like the grammar police.
You need grammar police, because if you don't have them, your readers will be them.
Oh, I would definitely need them. So I need it for just my little description of the shows. My dictation and grammar, Mrs. Kashansky, failed me. So
I feel like it would be like awful for being Glenn, with so much of our books would be so much like Southern twang in it. We'd be getting critiqued all over the place. Why is y'all in this one paragraph so many times?
Yeah, I would be guilty. And it's so. Do all of these take place in a different Earth? I know you're talking about the one with the Fae is in Middle or Inner Earth, I think you called it, and they come out. Is this all on this Earth, or are they all kind of mixed up?
Yes, so it's all is set on this Earth, just an alternate reality of our Earth. So the Fae live under our bedrock, between like our world and the core of the Earth. Is how I kind of created it. And like I said, the Fae do come up to upper earthly human realms to kind of help out the witches, which is how it became a crossover series with the Kingdom Journal series. So those two, but she doesn't really interact with humans.
Okay. When you were talking about the Inner Earth and stuff, it made it sound almost kind of Nordic. Is there any of that culture in there? Or?
No, not really. I wanted a new fantasy type story, and I thought about the Fae and thought about how they would live, and then I thought how this book started is someone was doing an anthology that they wanted every story to have a fantasy creature that had a mental health challenge. So I created her with an anxiety disorder initially, and it was a short story, and it was like 6,000 words or something. But they didn't end up going forward with the anthology. But then I had this little story, and I said, well, I want to do something with it. So I put her in the finale to the Kingdom Journal series, which is Kingdom of War. And she comes and helps the witches to defeat the evil witch. And then when I didn't want to let those characters go, because I love them and I have to keep them going. I created the Fae series so that my fairy could keep going and develop, and then these characters can come back and forth in the different books.
Okay.
I'm not sure that answers your question, though. That was about where they live, right? So it is in modern times. And I was just writing the other day and realized that, so in the witch books, like these witches were born in 2000 and they have to break this curse when they're 18. So that would have been 2018. And then now, what I'm writing right now is set in 2020. And we have this evil archangel who's causing volcanoes and storms and earthquakes, and I was like, "Ooh, she can cause a pandemic." So I've completely explained away the pandemic, right? Yeah,
that was going to be one of my questions. Did the pandemic affect either your style of writing or any of your stories?
Yeah, it did. It was interesting to me that me and all my author friends, the people that wrote the most, it seems like we slowed down and didn't write as much. Like, I decided to do my garden that year. I did not write anything. I don't know. I just dealt with it by listening to the Vampire Diaries and working in my garden. So that's the year I didn't publish. Maybe I published one book, but it was like already written beforehand. And since then, I've only done 1 or 2 books a year. So it has, maybe it's life too. I don't know. But yeah, it's been, it was more of a struggle for me to do what I normally did. I think I needed to break out of my normal routine.
I think with everybody, it brought us into a different reality, to be, honest. The world changed. So I can see
funny.
how it did.
I had contemplated writing a comic around that time, and a couple of friends were like, no, don't do that. That's going to be too insensitive. It's like, come on, people got to laugh about it. They got to have something to laugh about right now. Like, no, don't do that. That's a bad idea.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's hard because the other strange thing that happened. So I have a dystopian sci-fi book that I published in 2019 that was about a worldwide pandemic. And even in that book, I have them say that it originated in China, and they were all suspecting the Chinese created this as like a war, an act of war against. It's dystopian and it's set like 2 generations ahead of us, and the world is warmed, so we only live in like the northern third of North America. So it wasn't completely 2020, but then I went to publish the sequel, and it was coming out in April of 2020, and that book did not sell. Nobody wanted. Obviously, you don't want to read a book about a pandemic in the pandemic. So I just put that away for a while, and like maybe when I'm 90, I'll finish it.
My question should be, are you with the CIA if you predicted this?
I don't know. Maybe I'm psychic too.
Hey, well, there is some of that. We had an author on that said that a lot of artists and authors were basically remote viewing or writing things because of their psyche. So I always wondered about that, because there were books such as you were talking about before the pandemic about the pandemic, it's really weird. So it's like,
well, I think scientists were saying it would happen sometime too. So yeah.
Well, hopefully we won't be eating our brains out like they did in the zombie movie.
I love a good zombie movie, but I don't want to live it. Yeah.
No.
So I think if anything that they were predicting would happen first would be like a zombie outbreak.
Yeah. As a paramedic, I have no drugs to treat that. So, and I hope the government doesn't come up with one for it. I lost my whole train of thought there. Thanks, Shay. Is there any one type of, or one author in general that you look towards that you like to write similar to, or your writing style? How did you develop your writing style?
How did I develop I just started writing, and I don't think I did it that well because that's not my background. I have a science background, and I did technical writing for that. So I liked technical writing, but I didn't really think that I would like fiction writing. But I wrote more like a screenplay. And I really wasn't going to do anything with it. Like, I was writing because I think it was a little bit of like self-healing for me to write about my experience with anorexia and my healing from that. So it was more of a self-healing thing. And then my sister-in-law said, oh, but this is really good. And I had 150,000 words. And she said, you need to do something with it. So I had a friend who was an editor who also looked at it. So that's how I started writing. And then as I've gone along, I've taken lots of courses about plot because I didn't have any of those backgrounds. Like in school, I didn't like to write at all. I made like a negative 120 on one essay one time. Like, I had so many run-on sentences. Literally, it said a negative 120 on my paper. So I have gone back to my English teacher and gave her my book, and she said it was okay. So
well, that's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's cool. If I did something like that, I would absolutely want to go back to Miss Shanks and go, look, I did it. See, that's
right.
cool. Did she, besides for just saying it was good, did she have any other critique about it? That's so cool.
She didn't give me a lot of critique. She said she enjoyed the book, and she thought it was cool that I kept up and cared enough to come back and say, hey, I didn't totally flop in English. So.
It's got to be rewarding for a teacher too.
Be proud of me, dang it.
It's got to be rewarding.
That's something
so much.
That's something I would do. One of the best English, and I remember because Karen was like, I need you to tell me where I can get a copy of Death of a Salesman, and she was just like, oh, here you go, and just gives me hers. So I'd just be like, take all of these, look at everything I did.
Fine. Yeah, no, even though she gave me a negative 120, I really liked her. She was a good teacher. So.
But that, like I said, it's got to be rewarding for her to see that you turned out a great book.
Yeah, and she'll probably forgive that my friend put a dead raccoon in her car too. So, yeah.
Well, hopefully she didn't know about that until just now. So.
No, I think she knew. She knew. Yeah.
I am not responsible.
We know.
Yeah. Okay, but that leads me to the question: how did the dead raccoon get there?
Yeah, I can't give those details.
Okay, there. I'm okay with it. You can put that in.
Okay, but what did she do to make said friend that upset to put the dead raccoon in the car?
I think they only really did it to people they liked, because I can remember like our graduation night, and we only praised teachers' houses that we really liked. So I don't know why but anyway, it was a roadkill raccoon, and it smelled very bad, I'm sure, in the morning when she came out to her car. So yeah.
Yeah, well, you weren't in the South then, were you?
Yeah, I was. I grew up in South Georgia, so yes.
Oh, okay, well, that's
warm. A little
like
warm
a
in the morning.
To do.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Southern thing to do. Yeah. No, I can't confirm or deny there was maybe some chickens or something that we did, but
Next morning there might have been a live possum. Who knows?
Yeah, there was an incident with a possum that they threw off the roof of a building. So yeah, that's another thing. A burning possum.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Welcome to the that you were in the South, yes, ma'am.
Yes, I was. We had nothing else to do. So yeah.
How did you end up in Colorado from Georgia?
Well, I moved to Philly, or we lived outside of Philly, and we were just tired of the East Coast. We were working all the time, and I was going to divorce my husband, and yeah, we said Denver is the place to be.
Denver's a beautiful city. Yeah, I would take Denver over Philly any day of the week.
We like Philly. I mean, we had great friends, and we liked it. The rolling hills outside Philly are really pretty, but yeah, it was a lot of hard work. So.
East Coast, like you said, it's a different mentality and it's a fast pace. It's a hustle bustle. I grew up in Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. So yeah, it's just a different aura, atmosphere. It's just
Atmosphere.
energy. There's a different energy. And even when I go back and visit my friends from high school, I find myself, I'll start talking faster. I'll start doing things faster. And I'm like, wait, what the hell's wrong with me? But it's just a different energy. And you didn't start writing though until you moved to Colorado, right?
Yeah, I probably started writing in 2008, and I didn't really do anything with it until 2015. So there was a long pause. Not pause, I was writing the whole time. I just was writing very slowly.
Well, now as a creative person, when you sent your first one out, I know that your editor gave you a really bad review on the one, but were you scared? How did that, I mean, that's a lot of pressure, I think.
Yeah, well, and because it wasn't, so I did write a fictionalized account of my experience with anorexia. So it's not me, but it is me. Like I went through a lot of the same things I wrote her going through. So that made it even more personal, but also at the same time, I was more dedicated to it. Like the reason I wanted to get it in people's hands is anybody with suffering from anorexia or an eating disorder or even depression and those type of mental illnesses, to show that there was hope and recovery. Because I remember at the beginning, I just thought I've ruined my life. You know, I will never recover fully from this. And that couldn't have been further from the truth. So just getting out that message of hope was really important to me. So even though it felt very raw and very personal and scary, it was also very empowering in a way. And maybe that's what kept me going in the writing world too.
That's good. Well, therapeutic.
Yeah.
I started doing some of the same thing with where I have epilepsy. Like there's not a lot of people that I've found that go through the exact same thing that I do. So writing about it and being able to elaborate it in different ways like that is very therapeutic.
I can see that. And we talked to a lot of people in the public safety world that have written books about PTSD and their trauma through it and how they've healed. And that's been a great help for me, having going through PTSD. And so I get that. And I am writing a book. Mine will be more of like a textbook type thing, but I am going to add my personal slice in there. But I am afraid to at the same time because I feel like I'm opening myself up.
Right.
That chapter is just watch out for the dogs.
Yeah. And you already got a fan here. He said he would pre-order a book about a burning possum. No further needed. Thanks, Chris. We appreciate that. And Warren did ask way back here in the chat. I was ignoring it a little bit. Were there any Middle Earth love scenes?
It is not yet. We have some kisses because it's very YA, kind of more sweet romance, because they are in like a Middle Ages technology type world where they are not very risque. They're very conservative. So we've gotten kisses between main characters and love interests. I don't want to say too much about the finale because there's a little more of a romance in that book, but I don't think it will go anything beyond PG-13.
That was going to be a question. Is it hard to keep yourself in like that? Like you said, PG-13, or do you sometimes want to venture into the R?
No, I don't watch or read that, so it's not something I'm not really comfortable with it. So that's why I think I keep all my books, even my new adult books, are closed door romances. So they do have some sexy scenes in them, but the really more intimate parts are you don't see those. That's just my comfort level.
You've got to imagine that part for yourself.
Right. Yeah. The harder part for me is I'll go from writing and then I'll go back to my day job, and because the Fae of Middle Earth don't use any contractions, so they say I am not going to the store, and so I'll start writing my emails to clients like I am not. I'm like, wait, you have to use contractions again. Be a normal person.
Your boss will come to you and go, you might want to take some FMLA.
Are you okay?
How are you feeling today? Well, like we were saying, it's a part of you. I mean, it really is. And I think that's great that you can do that. You do. I feel like it's opening yourself up too, not just for people to be critical of you, because people are people, especially on the internet. So, but yeah, I would think that would be tough. So before we go here, because we only want to keep you for about an hour, I am going to ask you, have you ever had any paranormal experiences?
I have not, I don't think. I had a really cool dream, I have to say that. So my birthday is coming up, and like 3 months ago, I had a dream that I was back in high school, and all my friends got together and threw me this huge goth themed birthday party. And it was the best thing ever.
Love it.
Yeah, I know. Everybody was dressed in black, and it was a surprise. And they all bought me these little dioramas. You know, those little dioramas, sometimes you make them in school. You can get them at Michael's, but they were all like furniture, goth furniture. So they either had black or red furniture with carpet and wallpaper and chandeliers. And it was the best dream ever. And so my birthday is next week. So I'm just waiting to see if that comes true for me. So I'll tell you after next week if I get that paranormal experience.
Well, hey,
if you get any goth dioramas,
if I get any goth dioramas, that's kind of a high bar, I have to say. I mean, people wearing black, I mean, that's a little bit easier bar for people.
We had an author on here who wrote a complete novel from one dream. She basically got up, and I forget she was very descriptive with it, and she sat down and she wrote the whole book at one sitting, and I was just impressed. And it was a kind of romance novel with werewolf. Was that right, Shay?
I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think it was a werewolf, and she from just one dream, and then that started her on her series, and she's got several out now. And Chris,
that's where I get some of my best ideas is from dreams.
Chris asked, Tricia, do you prefer writing on a set schedule, or do you do it in bursts when the creativity just hits you and you can't stop?
I do prefer to write every day, because that usually helps me keep my momentum going, and I don't forget where I am and have to go back and read. Although I did start doing outlines. I do outlines after I write. So I write down what I wrote, just like in a little blurb, because my last book, my editor was like, okay, you have to do some outlines for me. So I did start doing that. But I do it after I write. But I just find if I like to write every day, so it keeps my momentum going. But like this afternoon, I was late for something because I didn't want to stop writing what I was writing. So it's a little bit of both. Like I try to do regimented, at least I want to get like 30 minutes in a day, but I will definitely go over that if I have the time and kind of the inspiration hits me.
Well, you enjoy it. I mean,
you can tell
just by watching you and talking to you, you can tell you enjoy it. So, any prediction on how many books you're going to have in the future? You got a lot of work.
I do. I don't know. Like I said, I'm wrapping the Realm Chronicles up next year. The 5th and finale comes out in July of 2025. So that will be exciting. And then I'll go back to writing a romance, and I don't have any ideas past that. So we'll see what happens.
Hey, watch some
see when the inspiration hits you.
Ideas. So you can have one about a Bigfoot in Middle Earth. So
maybe so. I already have the mermaids tried to take over Middle Earth. That's like a lore in the Fae histories that the mermaids and different people have tried to take, or different beings have tried to take them over in history because they got tired of living in Upper. So yeah, I'll pull a new character out somehow.
That's cool. Yeah, you could do a whole mermaid series. That would take some research.
The mermaid uprising.
Oh yeah, there we go. We'll do it together, Shay.
Okay, I don't
know.
I don't know if Salty's luring us into something here. What is your favorite cake?
My favorite cake is this chocolate cake. There's a Hershey's chocolate cake recipe, and I make it with dark chocolate cocoa and dark fudge icing. So yes,
Oh,
that is my favorite cake ever. And
Yes.
look on the back of the Hershey's cocoa box, or either Hershey's online. If you're high altitude, I can send you the high altitude directions.
I have a
No,
bad
literally, it was a problem because I moved to Denver and I could not make my chocolate cake anymore. So
I was a flight paramedic, and we would fly in a Learjet. And my first time in Denver, I did not know, first off, that the beer had a higher, was it ABV or whatever? It's higher proof. And then the altitude. And yeah, I had really
you will get more drunk. Yes, you will get more drunk.
Yes, I was like 2 beers. What the hell? Yeah, so 3, and then by 4 I was gone. But yeah, Tricia Salty says, "Make him one, please." There is a key to the altitude. We went to Peru. One of the pilots was a smoker, and you had to buy a special lighter because our lighters here wouldn't work at that altitude.
Oh.
It's weird little things you learn about being traveling around. So, and Ural's airport in Denver is weird. I got to tell you that. So,
okay. The blue steed outside is very weird. I will say that.
Yeah, the art inside is unique. So I don't know what the heck is going on there, but it is weird.
We're unique folk.
But gosh, it's so beautiful out there. And aside from, well, I don't think you all get the cold snow like maybe Canada, or my son moved to Vermont, and I've learned that they get like 4 foot, and that's a small snow. So yeah, that blows me away. I'm like, what? No, that happens like once a year in DC. So maybe. Well, before we let you get out of here, we always want to make sure that you want to plug where they can find your stuff, and if they have any questions, how they can get in touch with you, because occasionally, aside from the cake recipe, you'll get some fan mail.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. So my website is triciacopeland.com. If you go there, you can sign up for my newsletter to get 2 free short stories. My email is tricia@triciacopeland.com, so that's not hard either. You can get to me also from my website that says contact me. I'm on YouTube, which I also have a podcast, so you can go there and meet authors that I meet.
Cool. What's your podcast about?
It's Finding the Magic podcast. I do basically the same thing as you do. I interview authors about their books. So
that's cool.
When you write a book, you need to come on. When you finish your book, you can come on my podcast.
Well, I'm not sure. Mine's probably going to be more, like I said, a textbook for paramedics, but it probably wouldn't be a genre you'd be interested. I think it's why I'm having such a hard time writing, is because I feel like I'm writing a report. So which is difficult for me. But I may get it yet. So I will message you. And like I said, we enjoy having people on here so they can you can tell your story. We can tell everybody about your works. It's just a great, unique time. And that's one of the things I enjoy about the podcast.
Well, thank you. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Absolutely.
We look forward to having you again in the future when you finish up some other stuff there.
I will do that, definitely. And Shay, I do have a short story about epilepsy. So I will send it to you, but it's just a free short story. I wrote my niece has a seizure disorder. So I wrote a little book kind of dedicated to her, and I'll send it to you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's neat. You don't do any children's books by any chance, do you?
My youngest is a middle grade.
Okay.
So it's she's a 12-year-old character.
Okay. All right. Because, I asked because that brought another question up. We had an author that in her world, she was Leo the Lion learns how to dial 911. And she was teaching to the students when and how to call 911. And when you said that, it made me think of that, to ask if you had any that were young adult.
And the kids were paying attention because the calls to 911 went up.
Oh, yeah, in her community.
Hopefully they were for the right things.
Well, she was also
they were practicing.
She was a teacher in the small community and wrote this and published it and had like going around to libraries and stuff, and so the 911 center contacted her and said, "You're doing a great job." Or our calls. So, oh, all right. Well, Trish, like I said, I don't want to keep you because we only promise you about an hour. Not promise you, try and keep you to an hour. So, because your time's precious, I'm sure you want to get back to writing. So, I'm glad you came, and I hope in the future you'll look for us. And yeah, I'll check out your podcast. I always like to watch and listen to other people to see what I'm doing wrong. So.
Oh no, you guys are doing great. This is so much fun.
That's why I got Cheyenne. She keeps me out of trouble, or gets me in trouble, I guess, depending on which way it is.
A little bit of both, depending on the day of the week.
You got to mix it up, right?
Yep.
No.
Got to keep everybody on their toes.
And Salty Dog says he's stunningly handsome, but I'm pretty sure I heard you say you were married. So,
yeah.
There you go. Salty, sorry, you're out of luck. Tricia, have a great evening. We're glad you came by and visited for a little bit, and please come back.
I will. Thank you so much. Good night.
Right. Good night. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye. That was great. Let me move this. That was great. I love getting authors in here and talking about their books because they're so passionate about it.
Mm-hmm. And I really like to see everybody else's thought process because I know, like, I've already forgotten his name. Who was it that we had on Friday? What was his name? Jamie
Davis, I think.
Yeah. I feel like Jamie's thought process was very similar to mine whenever it comes to writing. So I like to see how everybody's thought process is.
Well, and in here, the past few authors we've had, they've been interjecting real life situations into stories. And of course, paramedic, obviously I was interested in that, but,
even for me, I felt that was very impressive of him to put so much actual, the real thought that it takes to go into putting all that in there, like all the factual stuff in there.
It's I lost my total train of thought reading the comments. Yeah, I enjoyed that they put in the real world stuff, but like you were saying, I also like the way he described it as his little world and how he moved his people around and the creativity with that, because I think that it's just so neat. And the passion that these people have is incredible. And I love to hear about it because, we talk to people that may be an athlete or something and they're just as passionate about it, but it's a different type of energy.
And I would always think, like, whenever I'm writing stuff, because I'm taking so much of, oh, well, this happened to me, so I'm going to put it over here, or this is part of my personality, so I'm going to stick it over here in this. And I'm like, is that narcissistic or?
Yeah, I did. And I let her get out of here and forgot to bring my comic book geek out and ask her if she liked comic books. I like to try and ask every author that, because they'll sneak up on you and be like, yes, I do.
I have a feeling she's probably not a comic book person.
I don't think so. Well, I mean, but think about that. She's writing in a style like with the MCU. It still amazes me how they wrote the beginning and the end of a movie 20 some years later. How they did that. So they're smart people. So, yeah, we appreciate everybody. Thank you, Tricia. I will make sure to go over and check out your show. And hopefully next time I'm going to ask you, if
you're watching, are you a comic book person? We need to know. In the comments, we see you. We need an answer.
Yes, be careful of the chat, Tricia. Be very careful of the chat.
Warren,
why are you?
Warren.
All right, well, I can't with the chat sometimes.
I'm sure with some people it is, but for me it is not.
I love it. But I want to make sure to remind everybody, we appreciate the Shuli Network for bringing all of you great folks to us. Actually, the other night, Andy asked me, he goes, are we going to do another joint podcast with them? I had so much fun. I'm like, well, Andy, they love you. They'd probably keep you.
You got offered a job. Go.
Yeah. So,
and he didn't even remember that.
he said he was nervous.
When you've got people like them on there, you can't be nervous.
No, because they're just having fun and having a good time.
I'm sure they'd be doing a good time too. So,
yeah, you'll have to let me know when you get a short story how it is. What else?
When she's not sick anymore, Salty Dog.
Oh Lord.
Well, no, I had a really cool idea because I'd drawn up a sketch for what I wanted of like she would funny quick story on what gave me the idea was because Travis was working with a guy who's he was writing a comic about his sister-in-law.
You're in West Virginia. I'm afraid of where this is going.
No, I don't remember where this guy was from, but his sister-in-law had the issue where your boobs don't stop growing.
Hold on.
I forget what it's called. It's
I've never heard of this. You're really going to get
You'll have to look it up. It's a thing, but it was the fact that he maybe if it was his wife, but he was writing it about his sister-in-law. So I was like, the comic was that she used it. I don't recall how, but she used it as a superpower. And I was like, that's actually not a bad idea. And I drew up the picture because like the girl has like a shaved head where she's got all these things attached to her, and it's kind of like they do for like an EEG monitor.
Okay.
That's hooked to a pack on her.
Too, right? You draw your stuff too, don't you?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you did.
Now I might doodle like sketches for stuff. Now I draw my own tattoos, but like I drew a little sketch of like the side profile of what I wanted everything to look like on her because I had it very specific on how I wanted it. But then basically it's I'm gonna just look up like big boob disease. That might give you an answer.
As a paramedic, I have to say I've never heard of this one, but
yeah, it's something to do with the breast tissue. It continues to grow. But so basically because of what the issue is with me is that the tumor that I have has a weird connection with my brain. So it almost creates like a little spark. So I was like, okay, well, she can be a superhero, but she's got like electromagnetic capabilities.
Okay. All right. Well, let me wrap up this hour for WRFN Radio Free Nashville and for Radio Fairfax and, of course, WDJY. Everybody on those FM stations needs to remember to come over to YouTube and find us with the Sportcat shows. You can see us live Wednesday nights at 9 p.m., Saturday nights at 9 p.m., and sometimes we do another show about Big Brother, but that's just for a few more weeks.
Oh, it's called gynecomastia.
I knew you were going to Google it. All right. With that, we will pause for a second here and ask our next guest, who is an author, Jonni, to come out. She has written also a bunch of books. Tonight we've got some authors that have written so much. So Jonni is backstage. I'm going to bring her out and introduce her. Hello, Jonni. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi. I'm good.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
So, well, we're glad to have you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm old. I've been writing for a long time. I was a professional musician for about 20 years. And when I retired from that, I went back to writing.
Oh, wow. Well, I've never had a guest lead out with I'm old, so.
Old music and writing. Got it.
Well, I'm going to ask about now your musical career. What, if you don't mind, can you tell us, or would you like to tell us?
I played Latin music and jazz. I played with members of Santana's band, members that were with him at Woodstock. I could drop a lot of pretty good names. I did a show with the Marvelettes. The drummer from Sly and the Family Stone. I had a pretty good time. But when I left California, I left it all behind.
Okay. Just decided it was time for a career change?
No, I decided it was time to get out of California for economic reasons.
Well, it is expensive out on the West Coast. Where do you live now?
I'm in Denver, Colorado.
Oh, well, so was our last guest. So you're both out there. Beautiful, beautiful weather.
I came here via Arizona.
So you went from the heat to that. Yes, much different, much different. I was telling her I love Denver. I was a flight paramedic, and we would travel around to all the cities. It was one of my favorite cities to overnight and visit in. So, well, you floored me. You threw me off coming out with your I'm old. I've never had a guest say that.
She's got a good sense of humor.
And I love it. I love it. So, well, I hope you could tell us about how you interjected that into your writing career. How did that take off?
Well, like I said, I had finished my music career, and basically I left California. I thought I would try starting up another band, but I found finding quality people was just getting too hard, and music was changing a lot. So I had a lot of ideas about books I might write, and my first thought was, how could I write a full-length novel? I was used to writing, 11 or 12,000 words to a short story. And I started working on it, and a few months later, the question was, how did I write 160,000 words? And that was the start of it all. And as I started writing these books, I learned how to do it, how to plot it out, how and when to not plot, when to listen to my characters tell me which direction to go. I am self-taught. I listen to young people today talking about all their technical plot points, and I'm going, that's nice. I just had to kind of go by the seat of my pants.
Well, there's
I
nothing
definitely
wrong with
agree on that.
No, well, and like we were talking about earlier, that helps you put yourself into the book. It's a part of you, not only just a part of, what do they call it? Labor of love. It's a part of you. And I like the way you described your characters as what you could do and how you could move them around. Where is your characters based in reality where we are? Is there a little science fiction in there, fantasy?
It depends on the book. I have one book that is actually based on the many musicians and managers that I had met during my music career. The book that I've just released is totally fiction. It's just an idea I had. The only characters that might be known to people is it kind of goes parallel with some of the Merlin lore. And not in this book, but in one of the following books, they kind of explore some of that lore in England.
Interesting. Okay. And one of the ones that I had looked up on and I was interested in was The Lost Art of Magic.
That's my first. No, that's the first one I released. Yes.
That was the first release. Okay. And then you had The Mother of All Viruses. Was that anything to do with the pandemic or?
No, actually, it was long before that. I wrote that during the Iraq War, and you remember we had the mother of all wars, so
Yeah.
I kind of went with the mother of all virus. It is a wild and crazy. I've never put that many interwoven threads into the same book before, but it's also one of the most popular.
Okay. Well, is the characters yeah, Cheyenne is my author. I'm more of a hands-on technical person. So Cheyenne's got the writing part down and things that I don't understand. My English teacher is still depressed about me. When you come up with your characters, do you bring them up from incidents and aside the novel part, aside from the drummers and that type of thing, your rock and roll lifestyle? Do you bring up people or put characters in like from that, your real life?
Not generally. No, well, although my therapist, who has read the virus book, she says that she sees me in so many of my characters, and so I have to go with her. Say, yeah, I'm in there, but I don't really put.
You're in there unintentionally.
Yeah. Or it could be I'm just that crazy.
That's kind of what me and Glenn were just talking about. I was like, I love to hear other writers' opinions on how they put things in there, because I'll tend to put different pieces of myself in other places, and I'm like, is that really narcissistic or is that just normal?
Well, I also have I have 2 books that I start off with a character. All I had was this idea for a character. One of them is a cantankerous woman she is the finest soprano in the known universe, but she knows it and she treats people like that's it. And I just started with that, and she's a nasty, nasty character, but I came to love her and really expanded her character, and she guided me through the story of that book.
I like the way you say that she guided you through. Mm-hmm. So that is a part of you in there, and that your characters are you in a way. Maybe we're all a little bit crazy, but I mean, that's the way it sounds to me. So
yeah, let's not tell my therapist too much of that.
Well, she's probably not watching. We only got like 4 viewers, so you're okay.
It's safe with us. Don't worry.
Now, if you tell us about throwing a possum off a roof, we might bring
a flaming possum. Then we might be concerned.
Yeah, that we might bring that back up.
Is there a story there?
That was earlier. Tricia was the previous guest was telling us about a high school adventure. So.
They put a dead raccoon in one of their teachers' cars, and then apparently somebody threw a flaming possum off the top of the school.
That's way worse than anything I ever did. I spent, and this is in grade school, I spent an entire recess collecting ladybugs off of the field, and I put them in her desk.
I love it.
Well, that about sums up what we did on one of my last jobs. We hated our boss so much, we collected a tote full of stink bugs to put in the office. But then I did one better and put them all in his lunchbox and got a lovely phone call whenever he got home. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how the old bugs got there.
Yeah. Well, bugs too. Ew. You know, I'm not.
Yeah, me. Bugs and snakes. Same. No for me. Warren asked, "Are you a well-rounded musician?" I'm assuming he asks if you play different instruments, or.
I primarily played the keyboards, okay. But I also play guitar. In fact, I can play some ukulele because when I asked my parents for a guitar, they gave me a ukulele. And I said, now I've learned to play it. Can I have a guitar? I said, can we go down to Montgomery Ward's and buy a $19 guitar? So they finally did.
Hey, I need this, but bigger.
Yeah. This is cute. It is cute. I still have one. I also play clarinet and some flute.
Okay. Your parents sound as if they either had a sense of humor or liked to torture you, or maybe a little bit of both. So
yeah, and some disbelief thrown in there.
Well, we all have parental issues, yes, ma'am. So, tell us about I was looking on your Amazon page, and some of the books you have are coming out in pre-order, so that's coming up soon. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I have. Well, I've got the one book that is now official, and the let me see, the second and third book of that series. Those would be the Untold Prophecy and the Old Child. Those are available for pre-order, and I also have my first. The first book I ever wrote in the first person is Put My Memory. I told you I was old. Remember?
You're cracking me up.
The nobility. Something about nobility. Yes.
I love it. I love you. Do you have a podcast? You're great at this.
You should have one. You want to come join us on a Saturday night? It'd be great.
We get so many guests, and some people take themselves so serious. So it's refreshing to have someone that is lighthearted. So I'm looking through all your books here, and another one that struck me as interesting was The Evolution of the Apes. Now that doesn't sound obviously like a novel, but
it's a short story.
It's a short story. Okay.
Yeah, it's a short story. It I kind of poke fun at the seriousness and at how we're destroying the earth, and it's about the people that put us here. And they come back every now and then to see how we've evolved. And they're not too pleased.
With our smartphones, we're not getting smarter. We're getting much dumber. Do you ever have any thoughts about putting like cryptids, ghosts, werewolves, vampires, Bigfoot, anything like that in any of your stories?
Not directly. I haven't. The Magic series, it includes different kinds of psychic powers and kind of explains them in a way that could be real life, but no, I haven't ventured into vampires or werewolves because there are a plethora of authors providing that.
Yeah,
I like to watch them and read them though.
It
probably love
seems like
Tricia.
you would probably like lean into more the witchy side than the cryptid side.
Yes.
Yeah, with writing about psychics and stuff like that, do you believe in that type of ability?
I better. My partner is a medium.
Okay. Well, then you might have some inside information there.
Yeah, get in trouble sharing inside information.
That's true. Just don't tell us if the world ends tomorrow. I don't want to know. So if there are people coming down and checking on us, like you said, they're probably not very, very happy with us right now.
No.
Out of all the characters that you've written about and all the books you've written about, which is your favorite? If you had to pick one.
The cantankerous opera singer.
Okay.
and she has a whole entourage to help her navigate the real world instead of having her looking. I mean, she will literally look down at a person and say, "But he's so ugly. Make him go away."
Wow.
And then the little person will kowtow to her and say, "My queen, you're the most marvelous. Your words are music to my ears." And then she'll go, "Oh, okay, he can stay."
Say that sounds like your last boyfriend.
I love her already.
So I said, it sounds like your last boyfriend. Joni,
They're an ex for a reason.
Yeah. Oh Lord, you don't have any songs? Were you a songwriter too, by any chance?
Yeah, and I do have. I have only one actual song that's been recorded, and I have a copy of it on SoundCloud. But most of my songs just, I was just a side person. I play piano. I did a lot of the arrangements, but the singer of my band was kind of held a tight fist on the songs.
Gotcha. But you're gonna detour me again. Favorite rock band? What's your favorite rock band?
Does it have to be rock?
No.
Okay,
what's your favorite musician?
Probably Return to Forever.
Okay.
Or no, that's the one I can remember.
Okay. I was hoping you pull out and be like Supertramp.
No, I would say.
I'm going to go right for it. What is your favorite rock band?
I don't know rock bands that well.
Joni.
I mean, okay. Right now, today, I would have to go with Taylor Swift, but she's pop. I don't, she's not rock.
Excellent rock band. Excellent rock band.
Well, no, but once again, she's a musician too, so I give her credit for that. So that was one thing I always get frustrated with the pop stars is they sing. They stand there and they sing, and a lot of them don't. Like I enjoy like Lady Gaga, who can play many instruments, do many things. So I enjoy a musician that has the talent to do everything. So, but
and then I had the pleasure of meeting. Oh my goodness! There goes the old brain.
That guy that one time back then.
Well, the guy that sang "Don't Worry, Be Happy." Yeah,
No.
exactly. Yes.
yes.
Oh God.
She's gonna have to Google it with her smartphone.
Yeah, because it's gonna bug me. Bobby McFerrin.
Bobby McFerrin. Yes. All I had in my mind was a B. So I had the great pleasure of meeting him through two different musicians. He used to do a vigil at a cathedral, and I would sing with him on Christmas. But I bring him up because he did all the instruments just singing.
Wow.
That's talent. That's a lot of talent. He seemed like he was a nice guy from everything I saw about it. And please don't ruin it for me and tell me he was the person who wrote the snobbish book about.
No, he was wonderful.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say please don't, because I hold that song so close to my heart.
Yeah, no, I was over his house for his birthday party, and the only thing I could say bad about him is he didn't show up.
How do you not show up?
We had a ton of people in his house for his birthday party, and he wasn't there. But I'm sure he was having a good time somewhere.
He missed out on the good party. It's his own fault.
Was there cake, ice cream? How do you miss it?
There was cake and ice cream.
How do you miss this? I don't know. Maybe I'm a fat kid. I don't know. I wouldn't want to miss my own party. My problem is they wouldn't have a party, and then I'd be depressed about it. So, well,
yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. Looking through all your books, I'm fascinated with some of them. And I'm going to ask you, I ask every guest, you have experience with the medium. Have you ever had any paranormal experiences?
I've had a few experiences that are hard to explain. Years ago, I work in the IT field daytime. And years ago, I was flying to San Antonio. And I would go back and forth. I would go to San Antonio for 2 or 3 weeks, come home for 2 or 3 days, and go back. And I remember I was home, and I asked my mother, we haven't had a family reunion in years. Can you get together with the aunts and arrange a family reunion? And so the next time I came back, we had a family reunion, and one of my uncles was there. And this uncle was not known for being the most jovial, friendly, go-lucky guy. He was wonderful. We had such a wonderful time with him. Just everybody just completely loved being around him. And it was a wonderful day. I flew out the next day, and he died that day.
Oh, goodness.
So that was kind of strange. And my company was kind enough to fly me right back. Then my current girlfriend, we have texted each other the same message at the same minute 3 times now.
Oh, wow. So you get a connection there.
Yeah.
She is a medium.
Yeah. Well,
maybe she cheated, but I was happy.
That's crazy.
That is hard to explain. Yeah. The same time, the same thing. So yeah. Was it deja vu? Is that, am I right on that? Or is that, no, that's when you're thinking about it.
I think that would be the other way around.
Yeah. I think you're correct. I'll have to get my smartphone out. In real life though, those are the only things that you've had experiences with like that?
I'm old. I can't remember.
Fair.
Well, how long does it take you to write a book once you start it?
On average, about a year. And writing it doesn't take that long, but it's the 24 revisions I do to flesh it out and get it right.
Well, and that's what I like to ask. Do you have a group of people that you send it off to, or do you have just go straight to the editor, or how do you do it?
I go straight to the editor, or I did for a while. And then I decided, well, this isn't really economical. And I tried doing it myself for a while. I do have an editor though, and she'll be getting my next complete new novel.
Okay. The first guest, she was telling us that she sent hers off to the editor, and the editor came back a month later and was like, yeah, the first 4 or 5 chapters weren't that great. You need to rewrite them. So
the first 10, and it was a 22 chapter book.
That's right.
The first 10 were boring.
Yeah. How do you feel? Cause you're putting yourself out there when you do this. How do you feel when you get the critique like that? Does it sting a lot, or is it you're professional and you just roll it off?
The first time I sent The Lost Art of Magic to an agent, it was an agent. She returned a very nice letter saying that, well, she thought it was wonderfully written and color, that I had way too much backstory and nothing exciting started to happen until, several thousand words in. So I completely rewrote the first chapter, and she was right. It's as it is now. I think I can suck the readers in, and I try to control pace. I try to have some really fast action, and then something a little bit calmer for you to catch your breath. And what when I do my revisions, if I become emotionally involved in what I'm reading, I know I'm doing it right. And
Okay.
that's happened on a few of my books where I'm really it's pulling out the tears and the emotions.
That's when you know it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have gotten good reviews.
And when you start, do you always know what the ending is going to be, or just
Yes.
kind of? Okay, so.
Oh, absolutely. I have a beginning and I have an ending. The stuff in the middle kind of writes itself as I move along, but I have to have a beginning and an ending. And because I put so many threads that are twisting and intertwining, I have to know how they're going to finish up.
Now, do you do like an outline of each chapter, or do you kind of just let it do its own thing?
I do. I start outlines, and I'll have an outline that's just like 1 or 2 letters for every scene in the chapter, and then I'll go and I'll write a small, 5 or 6 lines to flesh that out, and then I'll go back and I'll completely write the whole scene and start filling out the chapters. No one else does that, I don't think.
No, I've heard that some people do have like that, and that to me makes more sense because I don't guess I have the creativity to get to the middle. I may know we're going to start on road A and get to road Z, but I'm not sure how we get there. So I don't know that I have the creativity to do that. So
that's a good example, though, because if you think about it and you've got your GPS running and it says here's 3 routes you can choose from, and this one takes this long and that one takes that long, that's kind of what's happening to me as I'm going through the middle chapters. Sometimes I get led off in something I didn't even think of, a completely new idea, and but I go with it, and once or twice I say no, this is not going anywhere, and I back up and delete that section, start over.
And it's kind of like, oh, well, I'll put that aside. I could use that somewhere else some other time.
Yeah. And I might say, Rory, you stop trying to lead me down this book. We're gonna let Cindy take the lead.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Your characters dictate where you're going. They
do, because I don't really know them unless it's a sequel. I don't really know them in the start, and they as I'm getting to learn them and I'm being okay. In this situation, this is what you would do. So let's see what happens.
It's funny for me because I'll like start off with like something will give me like an idea for a character, like my list of characters that I start writing down. So I almost feel like I know them ahead of time, and then I just kind of let them do their own thing throughout.
I know people that actually, in fact, the softwares that I have a couple different software I use for writing, and they have all kinds of places for you to, here's my character, here's what he looks like, here's what his accent is, these are the things he likes, these things, and I'm like, I don't do that. But I do get into trouble sometimes when I get further into the book. I go, oh, wait a minute, is this the one that hates apples or not? And I have to go back and search through the book to find, who hated apples.
None of your characters cross over from one book to the other, you were saying?
They do.
Oh, they
Several
do?
Of them do. Yes.
Okay.
Now, I have, let me see, I have 3 different series, and none of them are complete. I have, and each of them has, not every character carries over, but a couple of the main ones do.
How do you do 3 at the same time? Goodness.
Well, I wrote the virus book first, but as I said, it was 160,000 words, and that was not going to be my debut novel. So then I went and wrote The Lost Art of Magic. And somebody said, I love this book, there should be more. So then I wrote the second chapter. or the second book. And after doing the third and the fourth book, I said, okay, I'm going to go back and write the second book to the virus book. Meanwhile, I was on Amazon. I was writing a book that I published one chapter every month. So every month I would be putting out 10 or 12,000 words. And that went on. I finished one book. I started the second book. I was into the third book when Amazon did something, because my readers and my sales went to zero and never came back. So I still have to finish that one.
It's kind of what YouTube does to us. So.
Well, and I think when you're in the different genres and stuff, you kind of, you might have like 3 or 4 different going on, because you've got to like, well, I've got to take a break from the fiction to go over to do like the romance, get tired of the romance, go over to the nonfiction. You know, you kind of got to give yourself a break.
And as a matter of fact,
I think you can get annoyed with your own characters too, of just, I'm tired of that crap. I need to go.
And I don't want to keep writing the same story over and over. And like that's what they do in the movies. I didn't want to do that. Of the three series, one of them is sci-fi, one of them is fantasy, and the other one is about life 12,000 years ago. So yeah, they are different genres, and switching them can be a relief.
I can see that. Yeah,
like you've just got to take that break.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get the shift reality, so to speak. So yeah, your science fiction books. Which one is that?
The Mother of All Viruses. Sad when you write so many books you can't remember the titles. The Mother of All Viruses, and the Queen of All Viruses.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I've pulled up the Mother of All Viruses, and it starts off with a sexy college professor. That's the beginning of it.
Sign me up.
I had a writers group that was reading that, and they said, you've got too many ethnicities going on in this college. And someone else nodded their head. Then someone else said, have you ever been to a college? I mean, especially in California, there is no too many ethnicities in a single college.
No, I graduated in 1985, and my high school spoke 13 different languages just outside of Washington, D.C. So I never knew any difference, you know?
Well, it's not my fault you can't keep up.
Yeah, it sounds like that person was kind of narrow-minded to me. So did to play off the virus part, did the pandemic affect any of your stuff?
I think I might have made a mention in one of them about a pandemic, but I wasn't specific to the pandemic that we had.
Okay. Did it, during the time of the pandemic, did it change your writing style, or did you write more, write less?
I think I wrote more. I was at home a lot, so there was a lot more time to write.
Use the free time you got.
Yeah.
I was a paramedic firefighter, so I was out in the middle of it. I didn't get to stay home. They drugged me.
Well, thank you for your service, I guess.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I tell everyone it's just a job. It's very rewarding at times, and other times you want to punch your face into a brick wall, but that's another story. So, have you, in any of your characters and real world, have you put the situations like we're in? Besides, you said you mentioned the pandemic once, but it wasn't our pandemic. It was different.
I think I just made a passing mention of how much time somebody had or what they did during the pandemic. Not really any. It was just one of those little things you do to kind of set the timeline.
Okay. Go ahead, Jay. You're thinking. I can see.
Well, you brought it up. Now I can't remember. You called me out. Now I can't remember.
I was saying I could see it churning up there. So
no, I was just thinking because Travis and I had this character that we had worked on for a long time, and I thought it would be really funny to make Steve versus COVID-19, and he was like, no, we can't do that. And I was like, it's going to be hysterical. It's going to be so funny. Because Steve is like this great, big, huge, hulking guy. And he's like half monster or something. When he takes he's got like a face covering, and he's got almost like predator looking jaws that come out. And Travis had created the character, and he's like, but we don't have a name for him. And I just went, Steve. And he's like, what? And I was like, oh, okay. Steve, Death Machine of the Apocalypse. But he's like the nicest guy. And I was like, you could make a really crazy looking COVID, and it could be Steve versus COVID. And he's like, no, we're not doing that. And I'm like, come on. It'd be so funny right now.
Steve. So Steve a hero?
Yeah, depends on the day.
Well, it worked for Captain America, didn't it?
But in that situation, yes, Steve would have been the hero.
The only COVID story that I might ever entertain is when my granddaughter got COVID, she lost her sense of taste, except she could taste sour. So she said that when she had mustard, all she could taste was vinegar. And so we did a little test where I blindfolded her and gave her some different things to see if she could taste them and what she could identify. Her least favorite was brown sugar because she said I put sand in her mouth.
Oh my gosh. Well, one of my friends with the fire department got sick. The only thing he said that he could taste was the taste of strawberries. He said after 3 months, it didn't matter if he was eating eggs, he was eating soup, what, it all tasted like strawberries. He said, I never want another strawberry again as long as I live. It did affect us and change us, I think, no matter who we were, yeah.
I couldn't taste anything, but whenever my taste came back, I could, for a solid week, could not be around onions because they smelled like sweaty armpits.
I think smells were very sensitive to me. Once I got mine from, we were fighting a hobo in the middle of the interstate that had a fever of 105, and I knew right then. I was like, yeah, we had to, at that time we had to fill out, it was like a zombie apocalypse. We had to actually fill out a form that we'd come in contact with patient X. And I was like, I know we've got patient X. And within 48 hours before I went, because we work 1 day on, 2 days off, I was sick. And I had already premeditated it. Nothing was going to stop this from when we were rolling around in the streets with this guy trying to get him to the hospital. So I was like, yeah, here we go. And it took me 3 months to overcome that. It was horrible.
I
was very fortunate. I have had COVID 3 or 4 times, but each time nobody knew. I didn't know. And I didn't have the classic symptoms. And it was so mild, I thought it was just a flu. And they tested me anyway and said, no, you got it. Yeah.
And if we were in public safety, they literally treated you like you were from The Walking Dead. They're like, okay, you're going to die. We're going to find the next paramedic. But mine started off with the sore throat and then, like you said, the flu. But my temperature, I could not get my temperature down. It was through the roof, and I was sick. So I couldn't hardly eat forever.
My girlfriend's a registered nurse, and I have seen her hazmat suit.
Yep. Well, that was right when this started, and then Georgia didn't want to admit that it was here, even though we have an international airport. And my city that I worked for was where the international airport was. So it's not going to come to Georgia. It's going to stay over there. I remember the chief saying that. Yeah, you need to read some science fiction, Chief, because that's exactly what's happening.
I actually worked in Georgia.
You were going to be the one that dies off first.
I'm sorry. I actually worked in Georgia for 9 months in Alpharetta.
Oh, that's how far from me. I'm in Snellville, East Atlanta. So, did you work for the CDC?
No. I worked for a cellular company. I can't even remember which one. I don't think they're around anymore.
Was that a long time ago, or?
Yeah. It had to be at least 15 years ago.
Okay. Well, I was here then, so we moved here right after 9/11. So, to be honest, we left East Tennessee and came here.
Oh, I was in kindergarten then.
Okay, we can both team up on our puncher.
I worked in East Tennessee too.
Okay. Knoxville is where I was, where my family's from, and I moved there from Washington, D.C. So,
well, my current day employer is in Knoxville, but I was all the way out in Mountain City, which is not far from Johnson City.
Yep. That's no, it's not Roane County, Jefferson County, I think, isn't it?
Well, it was a long time ago because they were celebrating getting their second stoplight.
There's still towns in Tennessee that are like that. My son moved to Vermont, and I found that there are places there that their main roads are dirt roads. And I was like, how in America does this still happen?
They like their privacy up there.
And they get the snow too. They can keep it. So I like, that's one thing I like about Denver. It'll snow in the morning, and in the afternoon, it's usually gone. So
yeah. My first snow when I was here living in one of those weekly hotels, the long stay hotels, and I had the windows open, and my back is to the window, and I'm writing my book. And it was wonderful, 65 degrees outside, just beautiful. And then it got chilly, and it got colder. And I turned around and look out the window, and it's snowing. So it just in a little teeny bit of an afternoon, it went from warm, beautiful weather to snow. So yeah, they say if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes.
It's pretty accurate in Denver. You're 100%. So we would fly into a blizzard, and the next day it was like, there's nothing here. But I did love it. Well, I don't know if you heard the last guest. I had never experienced the altitude. And when we went there and overnighted the first time I did, when we went out for beer, after the flight, the alcohol is higher concentrate. Didn't know that. And then I didn't know anything about the altitude. Holy cow. About knocked myself out.
I had a workmate from Florida that came up here, and within a week or two, he went to climb a 14er with myself and another group. That is a very ambitious thing to do when you haven't acclimated yet.
Oh yeah. There's something to be said about the thin air. So, I mean, well, talking about the airport a little bit ago with Tricia, one of the things that I noticed is how much longer the runway was because the thin air couldn't get the lift for the wings in a small jet. The airport literally felt like it was a mile long, and the Learjet can land at 1,000 foot if it had to, or take off at 1,000 feet. But it was like, we're going. Are we ever going to take off here?
I was at an air show, and the Harrier jets said they could not do a jump because of the altitude. But they went like 100 feet and straight up.
Yeah. Don't give away any military secrets there, but yeah, that is kind of weird. We hope they can do that. Well, Joni, I know we like to ramble on here, and I love hearing all of your stories. And you threw me completely off when you started like that. Where can everybody find your stuff? And if they want to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you? And what's next for you?
Well, right now, where is currently just the one book right now is available on Amazon, and the other 3 are available for pre-order. I'm working on getting the virus book will be the next one out on pre-order fairly soon, and we're going to be re-releasing them every 3 weeks, and that's the where. How to get in touch with me is I'm on TikTok. I'm Jonni with an I _ Jordyn with a Y. So it's Jonni Jordyn. And I'm on Facebook, if you can find me, Jonni Jordyn author. And in my books, I actually put my my email address.
Okay.
In the copyright section.
Okay. Do you get much fan mail or?
Oh, I've gotten some from my granddaughter.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you haven't had anybody be mean to you yet, I guess.
No.
Well, that's good. And I was going to ask Tricia this before she got out of here. By any chance, growing up or even now, a comic book fan? Yes or no?
When I was young.
Okay.
And we're talking in the 60s. So yeah, I liked my comic books back then. But no, I did not grow up with the comic books. I kind of went a different direction. I started reading serious science fiction in high school, and
okay.
that kind of took over.
Okay. And then you went and joined a rock and roll band, and the rest is history.
Out of college, yes, and I started playing music. I played with one of the musicians I played with out of the Santana group was his brother Jorge Santana, and and yeah, we it was like they heard a tape of mine and reached out and called me in, and so I did a lot of horn lines for them.
That's cool. That's cool. You weren't rebelling against your parents, were you? A typical rock and roll. I'm out of here, mom, dad. I'm gonna.
They thought I was. They put me into therapy because they thought I was such a rebellious teenager, and I said to them, "I want you to go talk to some of the other moms and compare notes." They came back and apologized.
That's good. That's good. Well, I mean, the rock and roll lifestyle can be good for you, but then you look at Ozzy and you go, I don't know.
The rock and roll lifestyle. See, I never smoked, I never did drugs, and I never drank. So I'm not sure I actually fit in the lifestyle. I went, played piano, and I could walk a straight line home.
You probably have many stories about musicians who couldn't. So.
Yeah.
Look at Mick Jagger, Ozzy. They're like 150 years old. They're still going. So something has to be right.
Yeah. And I had chronic bronchitis from secondhand smoke. So it's not fair.
No, it cheated you out of a rock and roll lifestyle. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I don't want to keep you because, like I said, we try to only keep you for right at an hour. You've been a pleasure to talk to. When you get the next book released, you're more than welcome to come back and join us. In fact, you're like Cheyenne said, if you want to come get in on a Saturday comedy show, come on. It's a great time. So
I thought you could actually fly out there and join you.
Yeah, just come. No. You can just.
I don't have a hang out on a Saturday. I don't have a budget for that.
We'll have movies and pizza. It's fine.
Well, you keep me informed. Let me know when. I'd love to. This is fun. And like I said,
absolutely
I have plenty more books coming out I could keep visiting you for another year and a half.
And we'd love it. And you could help Cheyenne there because she's going to be the next up and coming author. I just have a feeling. So, and she's going to leave me. So,
I'm gonna have to create like a surname, like
oh, you're going to need
like honey.
Yeah, a pen name. Yeah. She's referring to, we had a lady on that I was doing the research and I had this whole serious show set up about Bigfoot. Then this lady had done all the research and she knew all this stuff and it was great. What I didn't know, because I didn't do all of my homework, is she wrote cryptid erotica. And
she did write some serious stuff, but there was some cryptid erotica in there.
And so here I'm going to ask about Bigfoot, and she comes out with this totally off the wall about how Bigfoot would make love, and I'm like, what? And luckily,
I'm just like, go on.
Picked me up from there because I was totally lost from that point. So
I'm still waiting for her to reach back out to me on when that book comes back in stock.
I'm curious, is it really true about the size of his feet? And,
you can look up Valerie Willis.
Honey Cummings, I think was her.
Yes.
And never picked up on it. So, but yeah, if you want to come on a Saturday show sometime, it's a comedy thing where we get in here, Shay picks a topic, and usually I'm clueless because it's something to do with entertainment, and that's just not my forte. And have a good time laughing, carrying on, and then the chat gets us going. So it's always a good
I look forward to it.
Okay, cool. I will have Shay send you an email and we'll get you in here one day. Just, you have to remember our chat is not politically
a little spicy
correct,
sometimes,
but friendly. So
you just gotta give them back whatever they give to you.
100%. So, and sometimes they're rough, but all right. Well, I appreciate you coming on tonight. We will get in touch with you. I'd love to have you back on, and I want to hear more about your stuff coming out. So, and you cracked me up on top of that. So that was great. Have a great night, and we will talk with you soon.
All right. Bye, and bye, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. That was great. That was great. She cracked me up coming out with.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm old.
I wish Amanda had been here and wasn't sick, because Amanda had so many questions for her, and I think she'd have been like me, thrown off when she started with that.
No, Amanda would have went with it. Okay, all right.
It's great. Oh, mercy. Well, we've had a great episode tonight. 2 great episodes. Yeah. So everybody at WRFN and WDJY, I hope you enjoyed them. And you can always come over to the Sportcat shows. Like, follow, share, and subscribe. We're here every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. We go for about 2 hours. And then we're also here every Saturday night. We start with the Misfits, which is kind of we'll just call it a comedy gone wrong. And we enjoy the heck out of it.
It's accurate.
So, yeah, pretty much. And we enjoy that. We're usually doing that for about 2 hours. And we do rebroadcast that on WDJY and Radio Fairfax. But you can come over and catch it live on YouTube. We'd really like to have you over here. Our chat has been relatively calm tonight, so.
They did want to know why Johnny was broadcasting from a Kohl's dressing room.
I think Salty Dog said Montgomery Ward's. I cracked up when I saw that, so I was like, "Oh God, no!"
No, Warren's got me over here trying not to laugh on camera.
And Tricia's hung in there. Tricia, we appreciated you tonight. And anybody that didn't catch that, you can go back and find it recorded on the Sportcat shows. For those of you listening on WRFN and WDJY. So, Shay, who do we got coming up here in the next week? Let me pull up the calendar. We have another great episode lined up, I believe. Oh, next week, I believe, is all UFOs.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, well, we still don't have our phone lines back. So, because we broke them. So, yeah, we have UFO person in the first hour, and then the second hour we have a lady from East Tennessee that has some experience with cryptids. So next week we'll definitely be back to the paranormal, and it'll be a good time. Cheyenne, what do we have for Saturday? Have you come up with a concoction yet for us?
We'll have something.
I'll have something. That scares me. So that scares me.
We always have something.
That's it. Well, I'll tell you what, we will end the FM radio show, and we'll go for a few extra minutes. Everybody at Radio Fairfax, WDJY, WRFN, thank you. Please come over to the Sportcat shows, check us out, give us a like, give us a follow. And if you're on Facebook, you can find us there too under the Paranormal Guys with a Z. And until next week, we will see everyone on the radio station. Chat, hang tight. We'll let you have a little fun here. We will see you soon.
Hi, Rich Fields here, and come on down. It's time for the Sportcat Show.
And we're back. So what are you doing, Cheyenne? You've been busy keeping me trying. Well, me trying to keep a straight face with you and Warren going back and forth. So.
It's his fault.
It is.
I'm blaming him.
We should bring him into the show. So.
Oh, I'm over here trying so hard not to laugh.
Yeah, you were cracking me up too in the chat there. So, Lord, but our regular chat listeners were really good tonight. So they would have. Warren said it was the same, or no, that was you that said that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, he said he had a big D on his mind. I said same.
Okay. Gotcha. Well. All right, then.
I was just agreeing.
Okay, then. I won't argue. So, and he just typed in the chat that he was naked. We didn't need to know that, Warren, but thank you.
When did he put that?
I see. Here's the thing I'm learning. I've pulled up a split screen, and I've got YouTube over here because we don't get, for some reason, all the comments. So, like, Warren put in that he was naked, and then Salty Dog asked if his family was in danger, and that hasn't showed up on my screen yet. So I hope it's the chat people don't think that we're ignoring them. Some of them just don't come through for whatever reason. So
yeah, like I just went over here and I'm looking on my phone, and now I don't see anything. Now I don't see any comments.
Yep. Even Chris mentioned that UFOs are his wheelhouse, and he's looking forward to it. So yeah. So
where the heck is that at?
It's in the chat, and on YouTube, but not on our side. Sometimes it does that, and I don't know why. So Chris said that he was trying to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now I see it.
Said he was trying to figure out how Antlers gets a book near her heart. They're trying to figure out your disease you were talking about.
So. Warren is longing for Uncommon Hole, apparently.
Oh my God. Say no. Just say no. So no, she was a good, loyal listener and viewer, so we appreciated her. So, all right, well, I'm going to wrap this episode up. Since the chat's not that active, and I'll tell you what, this leg nerve injury thing has been horrible. So I think I'm just going to take my medication and go to bed. Start over a new day tomorrow.
Have fun with your physical therapy.
Stop. They're going to torture me. That won't start till next week, I'm sure. Well, the way Kaiser's rate will start in 2 months when my leg falls off. So
Then you'll have to go visit Brenda.
yeah. And Chris asked, do you have top messages or all messages checked? What he's asking, I guess, is it's not popping up on the screen, so I can't make them, like I do with all these. They're not showing up. So, and I've got them all checked to show up. I can't separate one from the other because we get comments from people from Twitter, occasionally from Twitch. But yeah, some nights it just don't show up. So we're about 10 comments behind. And so Tricia hung in there and answered some questions in the chat. So she was fun. I appreciated that. I appreciated both of them. Like I said, Joni threw me completely off when she came. Well, I'm old.
So I could tell immediately she's got a good sense of humor.
Absolutely. I love it. So she'll fit right in on the Misfits. Oh, and I did see, I think it was Salty Dog asked about Aaron. Somebody asked about Aaron. I'm not sure if Aaron's going to be back this Saturday or not.
It had come up because I said she's been sick.
Yeah, she has been. So we're hoping she can make it, but she's been under the weather. There's a bug going around, so everybody's had it at some point or going to get it. So, and you got a big day scheduled for tomorrow yourself.
I do. We'll see how it goes.
I'm excited for you. I won't let your secret out. I'm excited for you. So,
no, I'm hoping everything goes good and quickly.
Well, it will. It depends if they hire in groups. That's the only thing. I mean, if you've made it to this point, they've checked out your background and they know that you're a true dirty girl in our podcast, but that's probably about it. So,
well, I mean, from what I have gathered from listening to you all, the majority of them are. So they're probably like, oh, okay, one of our people.
You'll fit right in. Absolutely. So they'll be like, welcome, come to us. Where have you been?
Come, child.
That's it. I hate that we're not getting the chat from over there because it looks like they're having a good time without us. It's kind of like the story.
I don't know. Last thing I saw was that Warren had said you had to say it 3 times in the bathroom.
God. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to end this show. I've had enough of it. Warren, you've got to come on. We need you back, Warren. Come back to the show. So, Chris,
come back.
Oh yeah, he said your kindergarten comment was just wrong. It was a low blow. So.
It's what I aim for every time.
You heard him with that. So
good. I hope it makes you feel old too, Chris.
Gonna make me start my next podcast coming on saying, "All right, I'm old."
And then everybody's just like, "We know."
Yeah. I'm still technologically challenged.
Shoot, I am too.
Yeah. Everybody, we appreciate you for joining the chat. Please hit that thumbs up button. We love you. We will see you tomorrow night on the big chat, Big Brother, and we will see you Saturday night on the Misfit. Ryan, chat for me.